Hey, what's up guys, it's Mike with Untitled Reptile back with another video today. Today we're going to be making a bioactive bin setup for my Crusiohyla craspidopus, or the fringed leaf frogs. If you guys have never seen my channel before, I have a ton of different naturalistic enclosures housing anywhere from very rare dwarf chameleons to Ackie monitors to mourning geckos, dart frogs, and everything in between. If you don't follow me on Instagram, make sure you fix that. Link somewhere on the screen right now for you guys to go check out. Let's show you what the frogs are staying in currently and what they're going to be staying in after. Currently, the craspidopus are staying in this bin right here. I don't actually know how big this one is. I didn't measure it. All I know is that it's just an overall much larger bin and will be perfect to house these guys in the short term. Eventually, I do want to make a display for them, but if they do end up being a pair, I might keep them in a setup like this so I can stimulate some breeding activity. This is going to be a different style bin. What you're going to see in this video is me taking this bin from an empty plastic bin and turning it into something magnificent and bioactive. Let's get started. So you guys are probably watching this video because you're interested in making a bioactive bin setup. So what are we going to need? This right here is what I use for mine. You can see that there. It is a 80 quart, 24 by 18 by 15 and a quarter inch bin. I really like these bins for a couple reasons. One, they have the gasket. So these are the gasket style bins. They retain humidity like crazy because, I mean, already in a bin, you're going to be getting more humidity than in most glass tanks and things. But with a gasket, it basically seals the bin. You can see we're going to be breaking the seal anyways with that soldering iron. But the other reason why I love these bins is because they have a clear top. The clear top is crucial for this because we're going to be putting lights above it in order to provide fuel to the plants to grow and thrive in said bins. So yes, basically the first thing that you're going to need is to pick out your bin. I'm not saying that you have to get this size or this exact specific brand of bin to house. This is just what I've found and what a lot of people that I know use for their animals, and they work phenomenally. In addition to the bin, we're going to be using this soldering iron. It doesn't matter what soldering iron you're going to use. So now that we know what the crucial factors of this build are, the bin, a soldering iron, obviously you're going to need all your substrate and whatnot. I'm not going to go super in depth into that. I'm just going to start soldering this bin. Now keep in mind when they're using the soldering iron, there's a couple different ways to use it. There's the way that I'm using it in this case, and it's just poking holes through the bin. I'm not trying to create a ton of air circulation. I just want the air to be able to move a little bit. My room stays at about 30 to 40% humidity throughout the entire day and even at night. I do need to create a substantial barrier so that the humidity stays inside the bin rather than escaping into the room throughout the night. In this application, I'm just poking holes. But in other applications, you can actually cut a hole with it and then melt in some screen mesh, or you can find the little like vented mesh discs, and you could consider adding those instead of just poking holes. I think it is worth mentioning that I am poking holes on the top of the lid as well as on the side of the container. There will be some holes that are very high up on the side of the container, and there will be some holes that are closer to the bottom. This will just facilitate some more air circulation. Using the soldering iron really does vary animal to animal. Obviously, if you're just keeping, I don't know, a leopard gecko or something in a bin like this, you're going to want more circulation than if you're keeping some extremely rare leaf frogs. I suppose it is worth mentioning that I do have a fan running whilst I'm burning these holes. Obviously, you do want proper air circulation if you're going to be doing this indoors. Now that we're finished burning the holes, we can move on to actually setting this bad boy up. Now that we have the holes in the bin, we're going to be adding some substrate. The substrate that I'm adding is primarily a mix of microphone, apparently, organic topsoil. I have some cypress mulch in there, just a bit of peat moss, some cocoa coir, some crushed up leaves, some wood chunks, as well as for nutrients, I have some volcanic ash and aquarium soil. So the next step, now that we have the substrate in, is going to be choosing our hardscape. This stuff is just the Exoterra wood. I have heard this degrades pretty quickly, especially in aquariums and things like that, so I'm a little concerned as to what it's going to do in this tank because it's going to be like 100% humidity all of the time. no better way than to find out the hard way and test it out. However, one thing that will not degrade in the super high humidity is the All Things Reptile perch. This is made of tea tree. It's totally safe for your animals. It doesn't degrade very quickly at all. I've had it in my chameleon tanks for months and they're doing awesome. Of course, I just have a piece of cork. I'm just kind of using whatever I have lying around. Without further ado, let's get working on the hardscape. So I'm just going to be building this tank on my lap. The setup you're making for your animal will probably be a bit different than what I'm making for mine. So just try and make it look nice. Obviously, the plants will grow in and make things look completely different once they do. So keep that in mind when you're building this, is that the plants are going to take over eventually. Right now, it's just kind of a interim period where you have a little bit of free reign. I think this area at, I don't know, whatever side of the cage you guys are looking at, because I haven't decided how it's going to be sitting yet, but this area I'm probably going to leave for the water dish. What I've gone ahead and done is I have set up the hardscape of my tank. I have chosen where the wood is going to go, how it's going to sit, and then nested it into the actual substrate itself, making sure that it touches the base of the tank, just in case something happens, this tank gets bumped or whatever. That will prevent the logs from falling over or crushing a frog or anything awful like that. It's important to note that this can take a long time. It can be as slow or as fast as you want it to go. If you're just looking to throw a bin together, just put some wood in there. If you're seeking to make it look really nice, then you might want to spend some time in placing the hardscape materials nicely in the tank and kind of thinking how things are going to grow or where they're going to grow and that kind of deal. The majority of the plants going into the new bin will just be coming from their old bin because most of this growth isn't mature and it does need a bigger bin anyway. So what I'm going to be doing is transferring most of these over and then taking some cuttings from the other ones. I'm not going to bother on showing you guys how to plant the plants, but I will show you the final result after I deal with all of these plus some. Before I add any of the plants or anything, what I'm going to do is make this tank bioactive. I'm adding in springtails as well as some dwarf white isopods into this tank just to get it started. I might try some different isopods. If you have any recommendations for some extremely tropical, humid-loving isopods, let me know. I will try and add them in here at some point. But right now, it's just going to be dwarf whites and springtails. Here you have it, the final frontier. This is the bin that I came up with. This is obviously day 0. Like, this is the first day I set it up. So in a month or two in the reptile room tours, if you guys choose to subscribe to my channel, you know, link's always below the video, then you guys will see how much this grows in. This is for a naturalistic bioactive bin setup, as you can see. These are all living plants. There is no fake plants in here. Begonia metallica, there's a Macotes petola. I'm just kind of using this as like a hospital tank as well for my plants because I'm not sure. I mean, it'll either go well or it'll go poorly. I'm not entirely sure just yet, but you can see here there is a philodendron burl marks down there. There is 2 species of monstera in this tank. There is the adansoni as well as the monstera dubia, which is right there. In the back there we have the manta ray vine as well as I don't know, some just nereid of some kind. I'm not exactly sure what. What else do we have? We have the hygrophila. We have this weird philodendron here. I don't know the name of it, but I'm just kind of waiting for the leaves to get a bit bigger. It never really grew a ton in the other one. I know I got this from Ecuador, and he said that it will grow bigger leaves, but he just didn't say when, so I'm just waiting on that. That's the tank itself, you guys. So I got the frogs over here. They're actually huge. You can see them there. Suspected male, suspected female. I'm super excited. I hope they like it as much as I like it. There's a lot of different modifications that you can do. This is just kind of a base tutorial to get those of you that are super against bins to maybe consider an alternative. I mean, this is just as good as most of my tanks and whatnot. So, I mean, the option's out there. Just keep an open mind, you guys. And that's actually going to do it from me, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you click that like button. Make sure you click subscribe if you're interested in more cool builds like this one. I might make one similar to this, but about keeping your plants and making a plant bin out of it. Pretty similar concept. I don't know, maybe you guys are interested. If you have any other build concepts that you guys would like me to do, make sure to leave them in the comments section. While you're down there, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, leave them in the comment section down below. I reply to every single comment. Keep that in mind. It's crazy. I had an absolute blast filming this video. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you enjoyed something. I know I was kind of poking fun at like the bioactive word throughout it, but I mean, Troy has hopped on the trend and I have to hop on as well because I think it's hilarious. So thank you guys very much for watching. Make sure to click that subscribe button if you did enjoy what you see here and for more reptile insaneness in the coming future. Later, guys. I've got to put you down, girly.